Good morning, Patriots. Chris Cordani here, filling in for Tony Shaffer. And we're going to have a lot of fun today because there is quite a bit to talk about. Kerry Lutz will be with me as well. He is the man behind the Financial Survival Network. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, which is apparently something I need right now. Fact is, though, artificial intelligence has been, let's just say, part of the deliberate dumbing down of the country, where young people and even I'm sure a lot more people who are just they're using Chat GPT to write emails, write essays, write this and that, and it's really dumbing them down. But Kerry Lutz says AI can actually be used to re-smart America, to reverse the dumbing down. We'll talk about all of that, the pros and cons and the dangers, and of course, the Department of Education being disassembled. And let's assemble with Trixie, who is our usual Thursday and Friday host. Welcome to Wake Up Patriots, Trixie.
Good morning, Chris. How are you doing today?
Oh, great to have you here. We have a lot. It's just a lot of things are happening. The Epstein thing won't go away. We are going to talk about that, Patriots. I know some of you might be Epsteined out, but it's not going away, Trixie.
No, it can't go away. It can't go away. It's been going on for too many years. So many people are paying attention now. It's not hidden.
That's correct. The Democrats are jumping on this, and we're going to get to some of that with Hakeem Jeffries and the people like that. They're jumping on this thing. Well, Donald Trump, see, he won't do it because he's on the list. They're going to try to float all these lies around because they know that somebody's protecting their buddies.
Yeah. Well, you got to stop and think about it, too. If Donald Trump was on that list, don't you think the Democrats would be screaming to let that thing go? They would do anything to get that list out if he was on there.
That list would have been out and published, redacting a lot of names, but keeping Trump's out there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's how you can kind of tell who's on there and who's not, would be that, because the Democrats, if they knew for sure Trump was on there, it would have leaked from somebody.
Trixie, it would be a shame if this is being, and this was discussed on a couple of other shows, one show I work with Dr. Corsi, it would be a shame if the powers that be are keeping Trump and the DOJ from releasing a list to protect the royal family of Britain, King Charles, Prince Andrew, and the like, because Trixie, they're useless. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. They're useless, and that they're just there. They're just what do you want to call it, a placeholder. That's all they are.
I was 12 years old. I guess I was 11 or 12 years old during the Princess Diana wedding and the Prince Charles wedding. And it was one of the highest rated events in television history in America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, why the fascination with a family that really has no power and is only there ceremonially if you don't live in that country? I could understand Britain maybe gathering for this because there are centuries of tradition. We don't have that. Hey, our ancestors fled. Our ancestors fled Europe to get away from people like that.
I know I'm guilty, though, because I'm going to give away my age. I was like about 18 or 19 when that happened. And I remember getting up at like 4:00 in the morning to watch it. Me and my roommate, we were both girls, and we were like, oh, it was like, a grown-up Barbie is the way we were looking at it. It was a real Barbie getting married and stuff. But I don't know. Princess Diana, I think, really brought the royal family in more relatable. And I think that's why that got so much attention and everything. And then you look at Camilla with Charles, and it's like,
Camilla and Charles seem to be a little more alike, if you will. And I'm not sure if that's a compliment, but they are definitely alike. She has slightly smaller ears.
Now that you say that, they do kind of resemble each other a little bit, don't they?
Oh, it's that whole inbred royal family thing, I guess.
I guess
and
so.
yes, I will take it a step back. I do understand the fascination with that wedding on one angle, because I believe she was a commoner. She was not of royal blood. Lady Diana, am I incorrect about that?
Well, she was a lady, and I can't remember what her father was. He was something like that. But I mean, they might have had titles, but they weren't like real royalty, like what you would think.
There we go. Yeah, I would love to see a count getting married.
Count Chocula. That's the one.
No, I was thinking of the count, like, we have 1 piece of wedding cake, 2 pieces of wedding cake, 3 pieces of wedding cake, depending on what number the wedding is brought to you by.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, what's even funnier is the Democrats are in deep snots.
Oh, yeah.
Big news about the Biden auto pen. That's a big part of it, but
Yeah.
2028 is not looking good. 2026 might if the media does its job, because its job is to make Trump look bad. But even the Democrats cannot save themselves in 2028. They don't have a legitimate candidate for president. The
No. And they don't even have a platform. All they are is everything against Donald Trump.
well,
What I haven't seen them really offer anything as far as, plans, what they want to do or anything, except for the guy out of New York who wants like, communal housing and all that kind of stuff.
oh yeah, we'll get to Zora and Mam Kami in just a little bit as well if we have time for that. Let's see. There was a recent survey. I'm trying to figure out who actually did it. A recent survey of Democrats who who picked their, I guess, their favorite, their best primary candidate for the 2028 elections. Again, this is very, very premature. And as the great Edmund Blackadder said, 24 hours is a lot of time in politics. Imagine what 2 to 3 years is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
apparently, it's not even close so far. There, in with very slim pickings, it's Kamala Harris, who has 26% support from Democrats and Democrat-leading voters, according to Echelon Insights.
Oh, I would think that Kamala Harris, she's probably getting the alcoholic vote. That's what I would think.
I'll tell you what, then that would be like 80% of the Democrats. She's only getting 20%, 26%.
Oh, she's something else. I can't even understand how anybody can support her after the performance she did the
Well,
last time. I mean, she couldn't even really speak. She was terrible.
I'm going to take you back to, I'm not sure if you're a baseball fan, and I've done
Oh,
this
yeah.
before here. I'm going to pull his picture up. The Minnesota Twins were really bad one year when I guess I was either, I'm trying to remember if I was in my teens or my adolescent years. They were really bad one year, and they had a pitching staff that featured Terry Felton.
Hmm.
I use Terry Felton as an example because he was not that bad of a pitcher, but he was not a great pitcher, a good pitcher by any means either. He was on the team because the team was terrible, and he actually had a record of 0-13 one year as a pitcher. He was a starter, had an 0-13 record and a career
Oh,
record of 0-16. When the manager, and I believe it was still Kelly at the time, right? Kelly? I forgot his name. It's the same manager all those years when they were good and bad because the Twins stuck with their manager. Uh, he was asked, "Why you keep running this guy out? He's 0 whatever."
yeah.
And the manager says, "Well, because he's all we have. We don't have anything better in the minors." And that's
Oh,
a fact with the Democrats, Tracy.
that, that's a good analogy. That's a very good analogy because she's like, I'd call her 0 and 50 if you ask me. With her, she's been around a lot longer, but she hasn't done anything. She hasn't done anything memorable
Well,
except mess up.
and the Democrats were wise to keep her hidden. The
Yeah.
thing is, though, and I've said this several times too, Trixie. I want to ask the Patriots. I'll ask you again. If she was that good of a candidate, why didn't the Democrats in 2023, which was the perfect year, ask Joe Biden to step down because of his mental issues or his
Mm.
mental inacuity, if you will? And I made that up. I know I made the word up. And have Kamala Harris step in and take over the country and run as an incumbent against a potential Donald Trump, giving her a better chance to win. I think it's because the Democrats didn't want her to be president.
I don't think they wanted her to be president either, and I think they wanted to keep Biden in there because he was malleable. It didn't matter what Biden did. Basically, I thought the deep state took over, and they were the ones. You're going to get into the auto pen and everything, but that was my opinion on it. Was that Biden was just a puppet, and he would do whatever they wanted, and he wasn't aware of what was going on. But she would have probably gave a lot of fight back on things too.
Exactly. And here, the New York Times comes out recently with the story about the Joe Biden auto pen, and even they said, well, yeah, he did not sign off on this, and Biden supposedly told them he didn't sign off on this, and of course he does a 180 after that, saying, well, I did make the decisions, but still didn't sign off.
I think he doesn't remember what he did. I don't think he knows if he did or didn't. So that's why his story changes. But I don't know. I don't think he signed off on Fauci's. And that's the one I'm really interested. I'd like to see him get prosecuted.
Well, I don't think he signed off on very many of these things.
Yeah,
I don't think
he
he signed
couldn't
off
have.
on
He couldn't
I don't
read.
I don't think he signed off on any of the pardons, but I'm sure he left instructions to, save his family, save Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
Uh, that I'm sure is a decision he made.
Oh, he would have had to, because I don't think anybody in their right mind would have did it with Hunter. It's too controversial.
Well, not only that, you protect your family. I
Well,
I
yeah,
know, no, right or wrong, Joe Biden had to protect his family. He was under blood obligation to do so. You can't do anything about that. So I'm gonna, much as I despise the idea that Hunter Biden got a pardon, I understand why he did it. The fact is, though, if that's an auto pen pardon and somebody else used the auto pen to sign off on it, then that, my friends, is illegitimate. All of these
yeah.
pardons, if that's the case, in my opinion, are illegitimate, and everybody is up for grabs now, including what Schiff, including Dr. Fauci.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it should invalidate all of them. I mean, because there's no way he could have gone through that as many as they cranked out those last couple days. It's impossible for him with his cognitive ability to be able to even understand most of them. And then he said, what did he say? Something about how he made parameters or something like that for the pardons and everything. There was no parameters made. There was it a couple minutes between one person finding something out, and then oh, I'm sorry.
We love that.
And then finding out about the one case and everything, and then within 3 minutes, it's all the auto pen was used. It's impossible for anybody to go through it that fast.
And I understand auto pen can be used at times, but the president has to be present. The president has to be of sound mind. The president has to be of the ability to press the button at least and sign off on it that way. All right,
Exactly.
I get that, but something huge like a pardon or a big bill, they should be signing with their hand. Even Donald Trump signs them. He signs some of these things live. The minor stuff, I'm sure, is the auto pen. Let's not be delusional. But the major
Yeah.
stuff, hey, it's on camera. It's there. Joe Biden, I don't remember him doing that at all.
Yeah. Do you ever remember seeing Biden passing out pens like Trump does when he does sign the
I
bill?
think I've
I don't
seen him
remember
passing out.
any of that.
But
I don't remember.
it's funny, Trixie. It's funny because Joe Biden, the journalists never had access or barely ever had access to the guy.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask him real questions. Never did, almost never, virtually never did press conferences, and was basically unable to. So what makes you think this guy is able to consciously decide who signs these things and who signs off these pardons?
I don't know.
I
Maybe it was Dark Brandon doing it.
I have a theory.
Maybe
I
it
have a
was Dark
theory.
Brandon.
I want to float this by you and the Patriots. What do you think? His handlers. Yeah, I know they featured deep staters, but his handlers were activists. They
Yes.
they knew that they themselves would never find themselves in a position to run a country, set these laws out, and then protect those who did their bidding. So what they did was, behind President Biden's back and forcing him, or at least having the media announce this and forcing him to go along, signing off on bad legislation, signing off on these on all the woke stuff, the DEI garbage, and the forgiveness of the student loans going around the Supreme Court. I'm sure he was barely conscious even thinking about it. Just said things that he was programmed to say. With the auto pens and the pardons, these activists protected the likes of Fauci, protected the likes of Schiff for all their treasonous activities because they knew what was going on, where Biden didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. But Biden wasn't aware of a lot. I mean, wasn't it one interview they were asking him about the gas pipeline and about was it exporting natural gas or something? He had no idea that, and they said, "Well, you did it," and he's like, "No, I didn't."
Yeah.
He had no idea of what was going on.
Exactly, and his second answer to that, which was cut out, was the gas pipeline only happens when he goes to the diner and eats beans.
Yeah. I don't know. The guy cognitively, he was gone, I think, when they first even put him in office, and he wasn't voted in. I always say he was installed.
Right, he was installed by a group of people who were so far to the left. They were out to destroy the country. They were out to destroy the country's economy, and they found ways to do it. This is going to be virtually impossible for Trump to fix in 4 years. So this made things worse. Let's listen to one of these auto pen gatekeepers. Her name is Anita Dunn. She is a communist. I
Yeah.
say that because, in her own words, she gave her biggest political influences. I believe this one person was a huge part of the auto pen signings all around. I mean, the bad legislation
Yeah.
and the pardons. Let's hear from her, and let me hear what you and the Patriots think about this.
And then the third lesson and tip actually come from two of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa.
Okay, Mao Zedong. I think she tries to pull the Mother Teresa thing because she wants to look like she's religious. But Mao Zedong's the big one.
Not often coupled with each other,
Obviously.
but the two people that I turn to most.
Honestly, the second person really is Karl Marx, but she can't tell you that in public.
Yeah.
To basically deliver a simple point, which is you're going to make choices. You're going to challenge. You're going to say, why not? You're going to figure out how to do things that have never been done before. But here's the deal. These are your choices. They are no one else's. In 1947, when Mao Zedong was being challenged within his own party on his plan to basically take China over, Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalist Chinese held the cities. They had the army, they had the Air Force, they had everything on their side. And people said, how can you win? How can you do this? How can you do this against all of the odds against you? And Mao Zedong said, you fight your war and I'll fight mine.
Isn't that what Hitler did too? I hate to invoke
Yeah.
Hitler again. It's the
Yeah,
same
but
thing.
there's correlations. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Hey, the nationals again. We have to stop using the term Nazi and start telling everybody what that party really is: the National Socialist Party of Germany.
Yes.
And that's the truth. They're all closely related. This woman, if in fact she found a way to push her legislation against the voters' will, and again, we can talk about 2020 and the election. Well, I don't think I'm even if Biden actually won this election fair and square, which again, questions
Yeah. Big questions.
and legit questions. The idea is she and the people behind Biden were behind his back, behind the figurehead's back, pushing legislation that I doubt even some of those people would have voted for. And that's why that's why some of them actually went back and either stayed home or pushed for Donald Trump.
Yeah, if they actually put out what they wanted to do, I don't think they would ever get anybody to vote for him because it's so unpopular. And it's things like they're trying to push it so far to the left. And I think, in my opinion, is that they go so far extreme so that when they do pull back a little bit, it looks more of a moderate position, even though it's way far to the left. And she's a really good example of that. And I think like if Mao Zedong and Hitler would have had an auto pen, it would have probably been really bad.
Oh, yeah, well, let's put it that way. I think they have egos enough where they wouldn't want the auto pen either way. But
Yeah, probably.
had they been older, now keep in mind, these people stay in power till they're infirmed and dead.
Yeah.
And nobody tells them about that. Nobody tells the public about what happens to them or how or their state. So yes, I could see even right now behind Xi Jinping's back at this point. I haven't seen him appear, and we talked about this on a show in the past. I
Yeah.
haven't seen him in public in a while.
Yeah, he's
Who
been
knows?
he's been hiding, hasn't he? So
Right,
is North Korea, though. North Korea's been real quiet.
Well, North Korea keeps quiet because they don't want to rock the boat. They're already kind of working with Russia when it comes to Ukraine.
I
So
kind of miss him saying Rocket Man, though.
I don't know what I don't know where Kim Jong-un got that haircut. But the good thing is he made that haircut illegal because he doesn't want anybody looking like him. At least that's one good thing he did.
Yeah.
But if this Anita Dunn is part of this conspiracy, part of the people who went behind Joe Biden's back and pushed this legislation, this anti-American legislation, this legislation designed to overspend, overtax, overburden the American taxpayer and destroy the economy. Remember, this is not just about the pardons. It's about the DEI legislation. It's about the circumventing the Supreme Court and forgiving the student loans, or it's about handing free money out. It's about signing off on more and more government waste. Probably working with USAID to send these for these woke causes around the world. These people her front and center, if she's one of them, should be tried for treason.
Oh, absolutely. Like, why don't they make gallows great again? That's a
Ah,
good, that's a good saying. But like with these people, all you need to do is look at their symbolism too. If you look at like the Antifa, the logo for Antifa and everything, they're all National Socialist things that they lifted right out of World War II,
right.
with the Germans.
Well,
So they're giving themselves away. You just have to pay attention.
anything with a straight up fist,
Yep.
anything with a straight up fist, that's a socialist fist. It's right there. So
Yeah.
anytime you see that, it is a socialist party. It's a socialist it's a socialist fight group, if you will. It's sort of dare we say dog whistle?
Ah, yeah, there you go. Well, they even hijacked the Nazi symbol, the Z, if you go back in history and everything, that was used, eons ago, but it wasn't used the way they do it. That was,
Well, what
they
the
took
left does, and I believe the Bible talks about this too. The false prophets bastardize. I'm not using that word from the Bible, but they bastardize good, clean, honest, God-loving symbols and
the rainbow for the pride.
yep, and turn them around to mean something different or
Yeah.
evil, or as another dog whistle for those who can hear it. And
Yeah.
yes, the rainbow. That's what happened. And there are well-meaning people who say, "Well, we should be nice and we should let gay people live and let live." And I'm for that. I think people should live their own lives. What you do behind closed doors is fine. But even a lot
Yeah.
of gay people don't like the T's and the Q's and the socialists and the whatever alphabets hijacking their cause and making them look bad.
Exactly. They came after the kids, and that's when they crossed the line.
Yes,
That's,
yes.
if they would have just left the kids alone, did their own thing, don't push it on anybody, but they couldn't do that. They had to be celebrated, and then going after the kids, like with the gay story hour and all that kind of stuff, that's just so wrong, so wrong.
Exactly. I mean, live and enjoy your life as you please, but don't push it upon others, especially
Yeah.
children. It's all we ask. And this is America. It's a free country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's also go into this before Carrie comes in, because we're going to talk about this in conjunction with the AI. Uh, the Department of Education is likely going to be dismantled. Trump's given the thumbs up on this, so Linda McMahon can body slam the entire agency if she wants.
Yeah, body slam.
I've been waiting
I'm
forever
so
to see
happy
that,
that they're doing that. I am really happy that they're doing that, letting it go back to the states, because every state's different, with their standards, and Common Core just dumbed everybody down so much.
Common Core was absolutely a PC initiative.
Yeah.
Well, because what they do is they sneak little environmental stories in there. They sneak a little CRT crap in there, and they try to subtly put them into the word problems. Read some of your kids' math problems out of the Common
Yeah.
Core, right? So that's something. Again, it's oh, no one blatantly teaches CRT. Blah, blah, blah. Well, of course not. They stick it in. They stick it in curriculum. They're highly manipulative people.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And the Department of Education, as long as they say it's okay and they work it out, people are like, all right, well, the Department of Education says it, and education's supposed to be good. Well, let's get to this. There's a chart that's been throwing the spending on education versus math and reading scores since 2013. It's been worse. Look, it's progressively worse as far as the scores. The spending goes up. Inflation. Spending's higher than inflation, by the way.
Where's the money really going? Because textbooks, some of them are all electronic and everything now. So really, 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 where is it going? It's not going into instruction or supplies.
Since the Department of Education was established via the Carter administration, we have seen more schools get rid of their history teachers. Again, we had this beforehand. So again, I'm in New York, so the liberals kind of took a stronghold on education before that. But they moved out all the history teachers and brought in these things called social studies teachers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. After a while, progressively, a lot of the disciplinarian teachers were kind of pushed to the side. And discipline kind of went down the wayfire to, there's no such thing as a bad kid. And kids,
Yes, there is.
right? Yep. And teachers were handcuffed and being able to punish them. Nowadays, you have schools that won't suspend young people or students. In fact, the Middletown City School District was this namby-pamby superintendent, Amy, I remember the last name. It's her married name. I think she even graduated near my year, high school, same school. She ordered everybody in the district to refer to the students there as scholars. Every
Oh
one of them.
my. Participation trophy for everybody, huh?
Right. They're not scholars.
No.
Yes, they're students, they go to school, but not all of them are scholars. Stop trying to dress up the problem or hide the problem by dressing it up.
They got rid of civics too. Don't you remember? Like, I remember when I went to school, they taught you civics. They taught you all about government, about the separation of power and everything. I don't see that anywhere when you look at any kind of curriculum that's going on in high school or middle school.
Right.
And I think, and then they do that on purpose.
Well, notice the dumbing down of the country along with all of that. The Department of Education, we understand the dumbing down of America has started in the 1910s. That we know.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with the leftist movement. It increased over the years, but then when the Department of Education came in, everything settled in. They dug their heels in, spent a lot of money on these things. You have now these touchy-feely courses, these sensitivity courses being taught to kids. Then you got to tell them, well, half these kids are allergic to peanuts, so now you can't bring peanut butter sandwiches because that and math are both racist. Then you have
Yeah.
then they bring you invented spelling. They bring you whole language. They bring you whole math now.
They brought ebonics too.
Yes. And now young people don't even have to learn how to write an essay properly to get into college. The Department of Education, it correlates with colleges offering remedial courses. Right. I'm okay with junior colleges doing that because that's a re-prep for another college or just to learn a skill. But four-year colleges should not have remedial courses.
No. Why are they teaching you how to read? They shouldn't have to teach you how to read. They shouldn't have to teach you how to do basic math. I mean, kids graduate now and they can't even balance a checkbook if they even know what one is.
Well, yeah, they were never taught that. As a matter of fact, home economics goes down too. So
that's a big one.
The Department of Education destroyed education. The numbers show it, and the liberals are piping mad. I was looking at some of the randos on because they're always entertaining. Rando liberals are entertaining. Well, this one was one of my favorites. Check this one. And this one kind of you ever notice all these liberals look the same?
Yeah.
I believe
There's something lacking there. That's why.
Yep, she took her fake glasses off for this one, it looks like. But here she is. Here's this woman who's like trying to sound intelligent and snarky and telling us, well, you shouldn't get rid of the Department of Education. But just watch this because this is their attitude collectively all lumped into one.
Good morning.
Now, see how they lean into the camera with that big snarky smile thinking, I've got something, I'm going to tell you off because you're stupider than I am.
It's Monday. I have a question for those that have voted for this administration. Did you vote?
See, there's the rolling the eyes, and that look in the camera. She has to put that ugly mug up as close to the camera as possible, so we have to look at it.
I have to watch that, so I don't do that then. Good.
At least Anita Dunn doesn't do that.
Vote for the Department of Education be taken out?
Oh yeah, she's trying to have that sarcastic look. Like, you see, you people are dumb.
Dismantled. Did you vote for that? I'm just curious. I'm sure you wanted them to change things, but dismantling a department that helps your children and helps a lot of people.
Helps the children, and that's her argument. It helps the children and helps a lot of people. It helps the children. And by the way, I'm tired of these videos that look like that god-awful Lume commercial where the woman looks into that as close as possible to the camera and shows you the Lume, then her armpits close up and everything. That's gross. We should welcome Carrie Lutz. We're enjoying a little movie here. Carrie.
Hey, well, I got to tell you, Jackie Mason said, the comedian, I think he passed away a while ago, he said, when I went to school, they gave us homework. Kids today, they get condoms.
You got to say it like Jackie Mason. When I went to school, they get homework. Now kids today, they get condoms. I think get tampons if you're going to Tim Walls' schools.
I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid to go into a bathroom in a school nowadays. You don't know what you're going to find there.
You're going to find a litter box. That's what you're going to find in some of them.
You know what? I just say go off into the woods. That's it. Let's hear a little more from this lady. I want to get both your thoughts on this.
Putting it with the states is not the answer, especially if the states don't have income taxes and if they're going to start taking those away too. Like, our children will hurt for this. They want to take away abortion. If you
All right, so she's saying, what, consider the children. Then she talks about killing them. Okay, before they're born. All right, I get you. I get where you stand.
have a baby, you got to take care of it. They don't help you there. Then you take away education support.
You're not taking away education support. You're getting rid of the problem. And see, there's that self-righteous, smug look in the face and the blink with that closed, snarky, that snarky look. And these are the people. These are the people that make men want to put on a dress and hit her, and then say, "Hey, I identify as trans. I can hit who I want."
Oh boy.
That's sickening, like, because hey, show me a city that's failing, and I'll show you a city that's been run by Democrats for 50 years. Show me an educational system that's failing. I'll show you a system that's been run by Democrats since the 60s.
Chicago, they're bankrupt. The school system there.
And New York's not far behind if they go a certain way. By the way, Kerry Lutz is the man behind the Financial Survival Network. And I'm bringing you here because I want to segue this whole education discussion to something you wrote a while back. I contend that AI has been another component in the dumbing down of America. And it has been. We can't argue that. However, you say, and I tend to agree with you on this as well, especially after reading your article, that artificial intelligence can actually help turn this thing around. So let's get into that.
Yeah. So basically, I've been working with her for 3.5 years. I mean, I think like in the beginning, I didn't even know I was working with AI. And what I found is it adapts to you. It can speak in your voice, not all, but some like ChatGPT and to a lesser degree Grok, though I haven't seen haven't worked extensively with the new and improved Grok that's evidently going to be hanging out with me in my Tesla soon and telling me, you're short on mayonnaise, you better stop off at Publix before it's too late. But in seriousness, what the homeschool revolution, all right, some of the smartest kids we see, they win geography Bs, spelling Bs, math Bs. Those kids are doing great. They're going to do even better because one of the hardest things for homeschooling is accountability, the ability to impose some discipline, testing, monitoring your kid's progress. And the other thing that AI can do, I was just playing around with the concept, is kind of the gamification of education. The reason kids hate going to school and really don't excel is because we're using methods that were effective 100 years ago. Now, certain things are always effective. You got to learn how to write, read, and all that. But if it's interesting, kids will stick around a lot longer than if it's boring. And AI has the potential to do that. So the gamification and the fact that the way it's taught in the classroom, education is it kind of caters to the middle or to the bottom. Johnny can't figure anything out. He's disruptive. He's disrupting the class. That's the kid you got to pay attention to, the squeaky wheel. If Johnny is medicated and he stays in his seat and doesn't disrupt the class, then you teach to the middle. And teaching to average really is not effective for those smarter kids. I shouldn't say smarter, but the kids who are further along the path. It's all developmental, right? I mean, I was the worst student. I was an awful writer. Now I'm a pretty darn good writer. I went to law school. I learned how to write. But, it took me longer than others. And it was frustrating. Plus, I was left-handed. AI can adapt for all that. And the other thing is, one of the biggest problems of our education system, and it's ironic, is it penalizes failure. And yet, in the process of penalizing failure, it becomes failure itself, because we all need to fail in order to succeed. I challenge you to show me the person who's successful who hasn't failed. Donald Trump has failed many times, and his failures have been wildly publicized in the news. And every person out there, the old cliche about Edison, he'd used 1,000 different materials until he found the one that worked for the filament in the light bulb. And they said, well, didn't you get frustrated? And he said, no, because after every one, I knew I was that much closer to finding the right thing. That's the way education works, and that's the way life works. And the other thing that we do that's so bad in education, and I think AI will help with that as well, is that like that lady you had on TV, she thought because she had a degree, and maybe an advanced degree, maybe she had a master's of social work, although she
yeah, she has a PhD in BS. That's what she has.
Yeah, well, she wrote a thesis on it. I could tell you that. And this is so. What you're taught now in school is that once you're done with school, learning is over. And what I learned when I got out of school was that learning just began. All I got was the skills to learn more. Same in law school. So all of this combined, yes, it could be a force to dumb people down. There's no question about it, because it's like the calculator. You no longer have to add numbers. The keyboard, you don't have to do cursive writing. But when used properly, it will have the opposite effect. The technology to date really hasn't been effective in improving learning in school. I think this is the game changer, because the teacher spends time disciplining kids, maybe, or not disciplining them.
I don't think they're allowed to anymore.
They're not allowed, right? Man, if they were to ever hit a kid's knuckles with a ruler, man, they would be brought up on charges and sent to Gitmo.
And you know what? I'm going to stick up for some teachers who want to discipline these kids and want to teach, because there are a few out there. There are plenty out there. Do you remember the days when we were kids? We were terrified of the teacher calling our parents and telling them what we did in school if we screwed up, or if we mouthed off in class, or act like the class clown. No, these kids don't fear it, because every parent, or virtually every parent, seems to think their kids are complete angels, and it's the teachers and the school's fault.
Yeah,
and then they're the ones that get disciplined.
If I saw my father coming into the school, when I was younger, I would have been terrified, and they don't do that anymore. They don't do anything.
No, there's no fear. And with no fear, there's no respect. And with no respect, then there's no order. It breaks down. And look, we all had plenty of teachers that weren't worthy of respect, but it's kind of like being president. Even if you don't respect the teacher or the president, you still respect the office.
Exactly.
And you do what you're told. And everybody is, it's also our political discourse has kind of turned into the same thing. Everybody thinks that their opinion is important because they hold it. And, just because you have an opinion this is like a flaw in the educational system too, is that the failure to teach logic, to be able to analyze arguments, which really I only learned in law school, maybe one course in college. Everybody on the internet thinks if they feel it, then it's fact. And really that is a failure of the system, because just because you feel something, it might be a fact, but it might just be your emotions pretending or parading as facts.
Yeah, they have no critical thinking skills at all.
Yeah,
agreed.
You said it. That's what I was trying to think of, but I couldn't.
Yeah, no critical thinking skills.
Well,
free thinking, critical thinking.
Back when I was in elementary school, we had a teacher that gave noogies. She had all the bad kids, and when they were really bad, she'd give them noogies. And the kids loved her, by the way. They called her mom after a while, but we need more teachers like that who can handle the discipline problems and still come out on top and come out teaching these kids and making them better.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's kind of frightening, the just the deterioration of the schools. At the turn of the 20th century, New York City had the best schools in the world, and arguably now they have the worst schools in the world. And I don't know if you remember that movie Lean on Me about Principal Joe Clark in
Joe Clark.
Patterson, New Jersey,
Yes.
and state was going to take over the school, and he had a real simple way of doing it. He called everyone into the auditorium, and he said he called their names up. They came to the front, and he said, "All right, you're all expelled. Get out of here, all the troublemakers." And what happened? It became a sanctuary for learning. Then the parents were outraged of the failing students, and they, forced him out later on. And you know what happened? The school got taken over by the state.
Absolutely, and it got taken over by the druggies and the jokers again. And do you know what happened to Joe Clark after that? It was he actually ran a reform school for a little while, and the parents there got him fired because they thought he was too much of a disciplinarian. Not joking. The parents and the leftists in the state got him kicked out. Yes, they canned him because he was too much of a disciplinarian for kids, by the way, in need of discipline.
That's why they're there.
Yeah. So, but again, and I do want to get into this again because let's and I want to get your opinion on the dismantling of the Department of Education. But I do believe that artificial intelligence has no place when it comes to doing kids' homework for them or anything else like that. And there has to be a way to find and detect that. And I believe artificial intelligence can actually detect artificial intelligence, which is excellent. Having said that, like you said, to keep people moving forward, including the students who are moving a little faster and maybe move the kids up who are going a little more slowly, maybe artificial intelligence can help them learn more and help teachers guide and put together an excellent education plan geared at the 3 tiers of students that might be in a classroom at the same time, so they all finish at least in some kind of good standing and able to produce and get promoted to the next grade instead of this let them fall by the wayside and promote them socially.
Yeah, I think so. And the Department of Education has been a colossal failure. And in typical federal fashion, the budget goes up every year, but and it's what Reagan said was going to happen. And there's no surprises here. So yeah, it can't substitute you for your kids' homework. I don't know that it really can detect it. There are ways with AI that you can do things that no AI can figure out that it did. It's called stacking.
Plagiarism. That's another one.
It's called stacking. You take one AI's work and then you throw it into the other, and it rewrites it. No one will ever know.
Do you think about, like with AI though, for the students that are in school that are advanced? In my opinion, I think AI would be a real good tool for them, because if you're that far advanced and you're in the same class with the low and the middle learners and everything, you're going to get so bored, you're going to give up. You're not going to want to do anything. And in my opinion, I would think that the AI would be able to advance them a lot farther if they would let them go at their own pace with modules, as far as, you can't use it to substitute it for everything, but it would actually keep the more smarter or the more intelligent kids more engaged and more interested in school. Because if they're sitting there listening to remedial things because the low end of the class doesn't get it, I don't understand how some of these kids even stay in school.
Well, the schools are just urban city schools are just warehouses. Keep them off the street, and it's just the failure of these schools, and you have the teachers unions defending the failure. How do you defend failure? I just don't understand that. I don't know how people can justify kids are illiterate and they're getting out of school, and their futures are awful, and yet we should be trusting these bureaucrats more because they're doing such a great job. I mean, how do you justify that when a kid, basically you destroyed his life because you wouldn't hold him accountable,
Yeah.
It's like the kid, the parent saying, here, drink this medicine, take this medicine, but it tastes awful. I know, but it's going to make you feel better. That's kind of our educational system. And when there's so many distractions and there's no accountability, and they could be going out, they could just stay on their Xbox all day and not do anything. That's why the gamification education is really kind of vital and very effective, but it can't substitute. You can't have AI doing the kid's work for him.
No.
That's not going to work. That's just like you said, a form of plagiarism.
Oh, the AI could, as I said, AI could help them with research. It could help point young people in the right direction. It actually can help young people or offer non-school problems to solve and learn critical thought. But again, the education system we have here will have none of that. They've been training kids not to teach or not to learn, not to think critically. The teachers unions also, the very political teachers unions also have a hand in all of this. They look, if we're going to disband the Department of Education, something has to be done about these unions too, or at least the leadership over the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like normally if you're in the private sector and you fail, assuming you're not a member of a union, they fire you. But in the educational bureaucracy, they'll get a raise and a promotion. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. I mean, and this is the thing, like the AI, if the kid's having fun and the bell rings, the kid's going to keep playing. All right. Because learning should be play. Yes. Well, the one thing I notice is no matter with homeschooling, no matter how undisciplined they are in these, that the parents at work, whatever, the kid manages to learn by some means. It's rare for, if you take two kids side by side, one goes to the public school and the other one goes to the home school, and the kid in the public school, let's just say he's in New York City's fine public schools, the kid from the home school learns somehow, and the kid at New York City public school is the exception if he learns.
Yeah.
How can that be? It doesn't make any sense, but it shows that that the process itself is what's damaging these kids.
No. Parents, I think, though, when you homeschool, you have more, you're more invested in the education of your child, and I think that's why they seem to do so much better than the public school system. But the public school system is just the curriculum that they have anymore. It doesn't allow for you to really advance. Look how many schools got rid of gifted programs and everything just because it's not fair and it's not politically correct to all the other kids and everything. But their priorities, look at where they're investing their money too. Sports stadiums, football, things like that. They're not doing it into education.
Well, it's that old Prussian model of education. Our system is kind of derived from the German model, which was like, let's train people to be good factory workers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not working in factories anymore, and the whole orientation of what they do, it's just dated, and it's ineffective, and it's time that I think the AI will sweep a lot of that aside. I think a teacher properly trained with AI in the class, look, if you got a kid who's disruptive, let them just play games. But hopefully those games will teach them something and just keep them busy and stop them from disrupting the class. He's still going to learn something. You're kind of tricking the kid, And this is what I'm talking about. Like, I created a game where on AI, where the whole thing was you're supposed to prove to the teacher that you're dumb and not let on that you really know the answer. And you win by acting dumb. But if you show that you accidentally show the teacher that you learned something, then you fail. And the kids love it,
It's the catch,
Yeah. It's like their little secret is our secret. Now, I'm not going to tell the teacher I'm actually learning here. I'm going to pretend I'm not learning anything. And it's like, how much is 5 + 5? 10. no, don't let the teacher know. They're going to want you to do more.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
that's
was like,
another bad thing to learn. That's another bad way to teach people too, because then you have all those. Now we have a generation who advocates what they call at work bare minimum Mondays. If you know
Oh,
that. And that's where they come in, they do nothing but the bare minimum. They don't want you to know that they can do better. They keep everything slow that day because they had such a hard weekend playing video games or LARPing or something like that at the protests. Wait, I'm sorry, they're working, so it wouldn't be at the protest. They're LARPing somewhere else.
I love
But
it.
right. But
I love it.
and I think there was that other one on Fridays where they also don't do much but the bare minimum. I forget what that's called.
Yeah, of course.
that's why our Fridays are the way they are.
Yeah. No, you guys
No,
are frisky on Friday, which is
Risky
which
Friday.
kind of sounds like something another kind of AI would be doing, but that's another story for another day. uh, uh, Here's another question I want to ask to both of you. And look, Carrie, you're all about success. The Financial Survival Network helps out a lot of people. There's another question I want to ask you about that because I do want to get into a few other issues. We don't have a lot of time, but since we're on education right now, let's kind of juxtapose this. As far as the education department being dismantled, Americans are cheering for that. A lot of them. Others are upset and crying about it. The question is now, if this is all going to go back to the states to run their departments, I don't know if I trust states like California, New York, and New Jersey not to stray much from what the DOE has been doing by dumbing people down. And what about schools in the Midwest? Could they not be left out anymore? And perhaps somebody getting some resource to these rural schools that they desperately need?
So that's an interesting question because the problem is, like in New York State, I was in Westchester County. Kids were in one of the top 10 education districts in the state. They got regulated as if they were a failing school in the South Bronx. They still had to jump the same hoops with the education department. And so, in effect, their success was getting penalized. So the solution isn't giving it back to the states. Unfortunately, the solution isn't letting the feds run it either. It's the local level. The schools that do the best are the ones where the parents are most involved in the district. I mean, and with the way we get down to the breakdown of the family here, and the fact that single mother families are the kids have the highest potential dropout rate, highest criminal rate. Most of the problems in our inner cities are because there aren't two parents in the home. I mean, it's politically incorrect to say that, but the truth, that's how you know it's the truth. When it's politically incorrect, it's the truth. And they brand it politically incorrect because they can't handle the truth, right?
What you aren't allowed to question is usually where the truth lies.
So the family is where it's at here. And I remember when a kid got pregnant in high school, where I was, they were like banished. They had to drop out. I mean, God only knows what happened to them. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but I'm saying that encouraging two-parent families is really the best thing you could do for education. And if you change the Department of Education to the Department of Family Development, and you gave people proper incentives and training, you know, the left always talks about, well, education is the key. If only they knew. Well, look, 50 years ago, when I was a kid, everybody smoked cigarettes, like over 50, 60%. Now we're down to like getting into the low teens here. How did that happen? Well, it happened from policy, carrot and stick, taxation, although I think that when you're an addict, you don't really care about taxes. And, you know, high cigarette taxes, it's like $10 a pack, $12 a pack. Maybe that's it, but it's mainly education, where the link between smoking and health deterioration, especially long term, was clearly established. And, you know, the warning pack on the cigarettes, why don't we have warnings? Single parenthood will condemn your kid to a life of crime. 10 times more likely. Why aren't there commercials on TV right after the smoking commercial saying smoking's going to kill you, saying, you're going to fail as a parent if you're a single parent.
Mhm.
And let's get rid of the incentives for single parenthood, which once upon a time in New Jersey, they tried that. And the governor then, Christy Todd Whitman, was branded the worst racist
And of
on the
course,
planet. But when you have incentives, people will do it because there's an incentive. And when you have the carrot and the stick, when there's a stick, they're less likely to do it. Now, I don't want to control behavior, but I want people to control their own behavior. And single parenthood is the reason why our schools are failing. Plain and simple.
it's a
Morals
huge
and
reason.
discipline begin in the home, and it's lacking. That's one of the
It-
biggest things.
It's a huge reason, but a lot of this is also by design, through the education system and the unions. I mean, again, kids aren't allowed to lose anymore. Okay, you can't. In the '90s was really bad. I talked about this a lot when I was doing morning radio in the '90s and the 2000s.
Yeah.
There were schools that banned dodgeball because it left some kids out. I was one of the shortest kids in class. I thought dodgeball was the big equalizer. I could throw the ball at the big kids, and they
I
missed
loved it.
me. There's no way they're catching me. And you have, but then you had, then some kids can't spell because of their culture. So we can let them invent spelling when they write their essays or compositions. And that's another thing that destroyed education. You had another, and then they decided to find these other new ways to teach kids how to read. Whole language in the '90s had kids memorize
Yeah.
words
Awful.
instead of learning how to put new ones together. This is
Mhm.
all systematic. And you're right. Along with that, you have the parents, if you will, who many of them kind of use the schools as babysitting or daycare centers, if you will. Don't care what the kids are doing when they come home. They're watching their cartoons or playing, and don't say, "Hey, you can't do that until your homework's done." And then
Mhm.
everything falls down, and they wonder why the kids aren't coming out prepared for the workforce, or prepared for life, or prepared for college. Not that
So
college is any
true.
better nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
College has the potential, to, it really is. If the kid's prepared, even with all the garbage there, you do have real courses, I mean, maybe your course in womenism isn't going to get you a job, but you will have the opportunity to take courses that will lead to a meaningful career. But I think the trend we're going to see is that those courses, those ridiculous courses, are going to be eliminated. I mean, we could have a debate about art history, whether it should be taught or not. It probably shouldn't be a major. My friend Aaron Clary, he goes by the name of Captain Capitalism,
Mhm.
and he calls it useless degrees. And he wrote a whole book on useless degrees. And they're just, they just take up space here. And well, don't even get me involved, get me started on the college scam,
Yes.
but AI will get rid of them too if they're not careful.
Well, here you go. Here's what I think about colleges at this point. You have all these kids who probably shouldn't be going to college. They come
Yeah.
in with where they can take their remedial courses. They pay all sorts of money, or the taxpayers pay that money, or they take out these loans that they'll never be able to pay back. They take gender studies courses. They take women's studies courses.
Yeah.
They take with the hopes of becoming professional activists and making a lot of money, like they see the people on television. Well, they get to their 4, 5, 7 years of college, come out with their BS and VS or whatever else they have, whatever their degree is, and they wonder
Yeah.
why they can't find a job. Even the ones that try to hook up with activism groups find out that, hey, those jobs are taken, and people who had those activist jobs in the '90s are sure as hell not retiring in 2025 and leaving those jobs open for you. So they're coming out wondering what their future is going to be in a whole bunch of debt. Well, the government shouldn't bail you out, nor should the taxpayers. I believe these colleges who use these, and I call these all for-profit degree programs, because there is no real overhead. You're paying a professor a lot of money, or a bunch of them, just to teach these garbage courses, but there are no labs, field trips, or special or intellectual properties people have to read that make them smarter, or that cost some
Mhm.
money. It's pure profit. It's like those guarantees you buy those extended warranties you used to buy at the old Circuit City. They're
Yeah.
useless for the most part. I believe these kids should get a refund because they were suckered into this. They were suckered into taking these degrees,
Totally.
and they became and now they're massively burdened. They should get refunds instead of taxpayer
100%.
bailouts.
Yeah, like, when you want to get a reverse mortgage and you're a senior citizen, you got to take like a 12-hour course on how you're getting ripped off. When a kid signs for a student loan, they have no idea whatsoever the obligations, the fact it's non-dischargeable in bankruptcy, that this loan will outlive them. And if God forbid you default on that loan, you're a debt slave. And there should be but of course the colleges don't want this. They just want you going because college in and of itself, the experience, it's positive, it's going to be good for you. But the fact is that, these kids are being bamboozled by the financial system. And I remember, I was involved in the legal industry. I was in favor of revamping the bankruptcy laws. They were being abused by debtors, going on shopping sprees, filing Chapter 11, Chapter 7. But what they snuck in, and was the whole purpose of the Bankruptcy Reform Act, was that non-governmental student loans would no longer be dischargeable in bankruptcy court. So, which means that the loans from various banks, you owe it for life. You can't get rid of it. And this is wrong. These student loans should be dischargeable in bankruptcy, and or at least partially.
Especially if you took like lesbian basket weaving in East India as a major or something, you should be able to discharge that.
Yeah, I might want to take that lesbian basket weaving course just to watch it. Carrie, I have a running gag here. I knew a guy when I went to school at New Paltz, a very liberal college, there was a women's studies curriculum. I knew a guy who took women's studies as a major to meet women. Boy, was he disappointed.
Well, look at the group he would be with.
But Carrie, we are out of time. I want to thank you for being here. Hey. Please tell our listeners, our viewers, our patriots where they can find more about the Financial Survival Network.
Sure. FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. Everything I've ever done is up there. Almost 10,000 podcast episodes. My new book, The World According to Martin Armstrong, which is an Amazon bestseller. And if you think everything is accidental and there's no plan, there's no method to the madness, make sure you go get the book because you'll find out otherwise.
Thank you very much. And by the way, anytime somebody has Victor Davis Hanson on the show, I think you should watch it. I might be giving him a call very soon again. So that sounds like a great idea. Anyway, thank you very much, Carrie Litz, for being with us. Trixie, thank you for being with us and doing the show here with us. Also, we'll have you back on Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be back.
got things going tomorrow. Tony's going to try to pop in tomorrow. Let's hope he can do that. I have Jenny Kiefalver with me, and we have another very special guest. We'll be talking about that on Wednesday morning. Carrie, Trixie, Patriots, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the